afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm gonna wait like maybe 2 minutes. But how's everybody doing? Like, it's Saturday, meaning it's already a good day. Like, I hope y'all got like some plans or something today, cause I do. Like right after this, I'm gonna go to the gym, and then I'm gonna go and wait 1 second. Sorry. Hello. Thank you, girl. Listen, that's healing. That's why I look happy. I'm about to knock everything over. Y'all can see I'm new to this, honey. Um, doing stuff on this kind of platform. I'm shaking in my boots. Shaking in my boots. Okay, but anyway. So good afternoon. Welcome to Healing Through Rejection. Well, Grief and Relationships Part 2, Healing Through Rejection. I really just want to make this more of a conversation because, I feel like it just works better if you feel like you're being heard, and if you feel like the host is personable, not me just talking to y'all. All right, part one, part two. All right, thanks for coming, like a lecture hall, but more so like, it's a community of people who are talking. So there's a part at the end for a Q&A. It's just us going back and forth, like you offering questions, comments, your pinpoint or your thoughts on something and viewpoint, sorry. And then, and I have like something I would like to share at the end. So we are going to get started. So for anybody who doesn't know, I'm Jay Danae. Um, from Chicago. I have a strong media and arts background, musical background. I went to school at Central Michigan University, studied media, and then moved to the UK, studied media management, and then the Lord led me to study pastoral counseling. So I got another master's degree in pastoral counseling and just really got into mental health. Like just really started to hone in on like what causes people's behaviors on a cognitive level and also spiritual level, because everything is spiritual. You may think that you are someone who angers easily just because you people get on your nerves, but the real tea is, rage runs in your family, and you could see that in your grandfather, you can see that in your grandmother, and there are ways to navigate through that on a spiritual level and on a cognitive level. Hey, Casey. So I want to get into rejection today. I think I'll touch on anger another time, but we're going to talk about rejection today. So, just a bit of a background. I have I have been through a lot of rejection. Like, I've been through a lot of rejection. I starting with, just parental. My parents had me very, very young. And yeah, my parents had me very, very young. And I sorry. Yeah. So my parents had me very, very young. Um And so clearly, like when you have young parents, you have older individuals behind the young parents saying things about your child. Like, oh, that's probably not so and so's son. That's probably not that's probably not his child. She ain't gonna be nothing. Coming from a young parent, y'all poor. Y'all gonna be poor. Y'all gonna be this. Y'all gonna be that. Like just coming up with all types of stuff. And so, already being rejected in the womb can impact the way you come out. And so I had a very very rough. My mother had a very very rough labor. Like I almost didn't make it. And so once I did come into the world, some of the family members didn't really embrace like my mother and myself. Like it was just like a she gonna have to handle it on her own kind of thing. And then growing up, you have just family members treating you a certain way because of either your parent or just because of you. Like because they don't want to embrace a child who's born out of wedlock. They don't want to embrace a child who's not very similar to the rest of the family. They don't want to love on you because maybe that'll make you feel like it's okay for parents or young parents to have kids out of wedlock. Like there are a myriad of reasons why people would treat you a certain way based on the way you came into this world. Like there are a lot of reasons, and obviously it's not your fault, but it just is what it is. And so I grew up just facing a lot of just people not embracing me, offering me affection, loving on me, stuff like that. And it did really, really affect the way I viewed myself, other people, the world, God. Like it was just rough. And so I had to go on my own journey of healing through that because if I didn't, I feel like I would just be an angry something. Like I don't feel like I would be much of a great person to be in connection with. Because rejected people just have such a they have such a interesting persona. It's like you want to love on them, but at the same time you don't want to be too close because you could end up being cut in the process. You could end up being hurt in the process. Like, hurt people hurt people. So as much as you might want to hug on me and love on me and, oh, come, let me get you out the house, let me make you laugh, let me take you to dinner, I'm also going to have to walk on eggshells around you because you're going to start exhibiting a behavior that shows me that you don't love yourself very much. And because you don't love yourself very much, how in the world are you going to love me? How in the world are you going to treat me with respect or treat me with dignity? Just have a healthy connection with me. So, yeah, let's get into rejection. So, rejection is what we call for those who are Christian, if you go to a church that is prophetic or deliverance heavy, we call rejection a strong man. So basically strong men are basically like that really really huge like spiritual seed that can cause a ton of behaviors. So rejection is one of the things that's at the root of a lot of dysfunction. So if you see someone who struggles with abandonment issues, somebody who struggles with control issues, someone who struggles with like maintaining good connections or good relationships, someone who is a bit like angry or abusive, like rejection, you will somehow find the rejection somewhere in there. I call it like your spiritual DNA. Through conversation, through praying for them, you'll see like, seems like you struggle with some type of rejection. If you have mother wounds or father wounds, rejection will be at the core of that in some way. So the root of rejection, it isn't just a natural act or experience. It is a spiritual seed. Like I said, it can take root in you via many access points. So early family dynamics, like I said, parents maybe not embracing you, grandparents not embracing you, cousins acting funny towards you, like you feeling like you're not the favored family member, like if people are so quick to hug on your cousin and hug on your sister, but on towards you, they're like, all right, hey, turning their turning their backs on you, like, all right, we see you, all right, goodbye. Like treating you like you the what do they call that? The black sheep of the family. Like that is an example of you experiencing not being accepted, and then rejection taking root in you. Another access point is your school or neighborhood. So if you're somebody who went through bullying and elementary school or in your neighborhood. I'm from the hood. And so, as we all know, kids can be cruel. And so I faced a lot of bullying in my neighborhood, trying to walk to the store, minding my business, like going across the park to go to school, or just like presenting in front of my classroom, and you got kids talking stuff, saying crazy things to you, and you just like, bro, where's all this hate coming from? But that's just them exhibiting a form of just cruelty. And you being an innocent kid, that's gonna take root in you, because children, we supposed to come into the world being protected and all that. So when you're unprotected and something happens, that has an easy access point, and it takes root in your spiritual DNA. Your past romantic relationships, like on one end, the dating portion. You try to get into a relationship, even in this day and age, like trying to get into a relationship the traditional way, through dating apps, all types of ways, and you find yourself running into issues with people either not showing you love or them ghosting you, just like doing everything to reel you in, and then once you're there, it's like a boo, like what was the point of this? On the other end, you get into a relationship, and then you have people not showing you the affection you're showing them. Like, again, dating you, having you in their space, but refusing to offer you affection. It's like you in a relationship for nothing. So that's another access point. Society, all types of people are like just biblically lepers, like people who you want to stay away from. Society is like, don't talk to these kind of people, don't embrace these kind of people. Just think of the ones who are on social media and they're not given the same kind of love their peers are giving. Like today, you got two idiots who just commented on this live talking about my appearance. Had it been somebody else who was skinnier, fair skin, long curly hair, like I can bet you that people wouldn't be, bringing negative, nasty comments onto their platform. But then you have me, and I think I look great. But you have two clowns who would rather come on and insult me because of the way I look. And other women who look like me, dark skin, and more like heavier or whatever, they get attacked the same way I do. And so that's another way. Just society has like a particular way of looking at certain types of women or certain types of people and choosing to attack them for whatever reason. But it can take root in you. They can have a clownish reason, but those words can cause a spirit of rejection to take rest in your spirit. And boom, now you struggling with rejection because they took 5 seconds to say something stupid, and then it found a place in you. So, and then one last part, which is like a really, really hard one, self-criticism. Like y'all saying right now, self-hate, self-criticism. So you can become your own worst critic. You can become someone who is your, like, the first person who hates on you. Ain't that crazy? You could be the first person who hates on you. And that can literally cause just like a heavy burden of rejection to fall on you, and it can fester, because if you're allowing yourself to talk to yourself like that, you're gonna let everybody and their mama talk to you like that and cast another level of self-hate on you. And so yeah, there are so many different access points that some people don't even realize are access points, but you have to be mindful of the way that rejection can take rest in you. And if the seed festers, if the seed of rejection festers, if it grows, if it gets worse, that can literally morph you into someone who navigates through life as a reject or rejected person. So you can be someone who your identity is all about not being accepted. Like everywhere you go, regardless of how you look, what you do, how much money you got, you're not going to be accepted everywhere. Now, you can either just take that and be like, hey, I'm not supposed to be accepted by everybody, or you can become someone who is rejected where now that affects everything you do. Now you're fearful of being rejected, and so you cast a shadow over yourself, whether it's in how you treat your career, how you treat your education, how you treat yourself, what type of opportunities you go after, what you wear. Like, you can be so calculated in the way you do things because you are anticipating rejection, and that's called being a rejected person. So the more professional or official, and we're gonna get to that woman I am. We're gonna get to how to like fix it or how to navigate through it, like ways to heal. I promise you, I feel like it's gonna help because it helped me, and I would never share information that I didn't apply to my own life because I feel like that's whack. So the more official definition of rejection is refusing to accept, use, or believe someone or something. So it's mostly associated with the romantic context, just like feeling like you are putting yourself out there, but not getting the same kind of love. It can also take place in a relational context, family, friendship, professional context, and a spiritual context. And we're going to get into all of that. But it's important to acknowledge the feelings connected to rejection in order to fully heal. Sometimes we can get into the mindset of thinking that if we don't think about how something affects us, then eventually it won't. But that's really a lie. That's really a lie because in real life, that's called just like, denial. What's the other word for delusion? Like, oh girl, I don't care about that. But in real life, it's resting somewhere. It's resting somewhere in your brain and waiting for the right moment to come back to remembrance. Like, and just think of it this way. Think of if you out with your homies and all your friends are getting love and you not. And so you wave it off. You like, I don't care, knowing that in some way you're a bit offended. By the third time that happens, not only are you thinking about that third time, you're thinking about the second time it happened, and you're thinking about the first time it happened. You be like, man, this remind me of when A, B, C, and D happened to me. And it's like, dang, you thought you were able to wipe it off your shoulder, acting like it didn't really matter to you. But in real life, it took rest somewhere, and it was just waiting to be triggered again because you never actually dealt with it. So yeah, rejection is something that I call it a silent killer because it can sit there in your heart and grow and grow and grow every time something triggers it. And next thing you know, you end up blowing up, or you just become a shadow of the person you used to be, or a shadow of the person you're meant to be. So the root of rejection, like I said, it has like many access points. Some common signs of rejection are victim mentality. So you feel like life is always happening to me. Every time I look up, something's happening. Why can't I get a break? If it's not one thing, it's another. It's all like you kind of over generalize your life. So you go after a job. Let's say all your life you've been getting jobs. But if you have rejection in your heart and two different times you get rejected by a job, you go into the victim mentality. I'll never get what I want. I don't never get the job I want. I always end up getting treated. I always end up getting rejected. Why every time I look up, people telling me no? Like, you just like go into a whole monologue about why do doors always close on you? And it's like, girl, man, like for years, 20 odd years, you be getting jobs, but the 26th year you can't get one, and now you feel like you don't ever get opportunities. How do you constantly forget about the last time? And yes, woman, I am literally, I think like that sometimes, where I am in the black and white mindset, where if it's not one thing, that means automatically is this. And it's hard to jump out of that and think of the gray area, because in life there is an actual gray area. But sometimes rejection can be paralyzing. Another sign of it is hopelessness, the expectation of rejection. So losing hope. Like, I'm so tired of this happening. It's probably never gonna happen for me. All of these doors closing, a door is never gonna open for me. Just like, just putting yourself in a position where, or in a mindset where now you're losing expectation. Like, yeah, it is hard to not think like that. It is, and it's like you have to flex that part of your willpower to fight against it. But it's like if you feel like your mind has that much power over you, your willpower is gonna be weaker and weaker and weaker. And so yeah, I'm getting off track, but I'm gonna speak on that because I totally understand. Misplaced anger is another one. Like, you are now pissed at everybody and everything because a door didn't open for you. It's everybody's fault because the door didn't open for you. You didn't get an opportunity, so now you mad at the person who did get it. Or you're mad at the type of people who did get it. You're mad at the people who closed the door on you. But in reality, it's no one else's fault. It's not even your fault. It's just your responsibility to be able to bounce back. It's just your responsibility to move forward, to pivot, and we'll roll into that next. Spitefulness. Spitefulness is another one where now it's like, I can't wait for things to work out for me because I'm gonna get back at so and so and so and so. Things are gonna start building up for me, and I'm gonna make them hurt. I'm gonna make them feel it. Now that things are better for me, y'all gonna feel when y'all rejected me. And it's like, God doesn't open doors for you to doo-doo on other people. God does not open doors for you to now be like, aha, I knew I was going to be blessed, and now y'all should feel away because y'all rejected me. That's not your responsibility. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, if it's even meant to be vengeance. Because they don't have to pay for something not working out for you. Now, if they hurt you on purpose, God will take care of that. But if you are genuinely happy about the door that God opens for you, if you're authentically happy about it and you're authentically following God, you're not going to care about who said no to you last year. You're just going to think about how all of the no's work together for your good. Yeah. So overall, it's important to identify it as early as possible, which means being honest with yourself. Being honest with yourself. So that's like putting a mirror in front of you and saying, this happened. It's affecting me this way. It's making me feel this way. So now what do I do about it? Instead of being a robot and be like, it happened. I am internalizing it, and I'm going to just wear it as a part of my identity. That's too limiting. It's too limiting, and it's unfair because you still have life ahead of you to live. You still have other opportunities to obtain. And so you need to be your best self walking into those other opportunities. And carrying the rejection from before doesn't make you your best self unless you're using it to empower you. And rejection isn't empowering. So, yes. So there are different types of rejection. I already talked on access points, which kind of touch on the different types of rejection, but I want to get into it a bit more. So in a romantic context, rejection may look like unrequited love. So a person of interest may not have mutual feelings, or even in a romantic relationship, your partner may choose to withhold affection. How many well, I've never been in a relationship. So how many of y'all have ever been in a relationship with somebody who all of a sudden just stopped showing you love? Where you felt like you're now constantly pursuing them even in the relationship. It's like there was a time when we were happy. There was a time when you used to buy me flowers. There was a time where you made sure I cared about what you were wearing. Or you made sure you complimented me on the way out the door. But now, I don't know what changed. Like, now you're a little cold. Or now you don't really like talking to me. You don't really call me. I feel like you might love me, but you don't like me. So that's an example of rejection, even in a romantic context. We already know about when you have a crush on somebody and the other person is like, nah, I don't really want you. Like, we've all gone through that. Not everybody, you're not everybody's cup of tea, and everybody isn't your cup of tea. But it does not stop it from hurting. And that is losing yourself trying to prove that you're worthy is something that it's a mechanism people utilize to try to regain control of a situation. Where it's like, I was so comfortable in this for a point, and then something happened that I wasn't able to control, and so now I'm finna get lost in trying to regain that, or trying to return to what was normal. And again, it can literally, yes, I was just about to say that, it can literally be exhausting, but you want to get back to that familiar time, familiar space where things were good. And so your exhaustion over time don't even matter to you no more. You just be like, I'm gonna keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, even if you don't see the love being returned. It's crazy how our minds can work against our well-being. Relational. This is the one that's hurt me the most. Similar to romantic relationships, you may not receive affection, respect, or acceptance. You may be left out of certain things, treated as though your presence isn't needed or appreciated, tolerated, not celebrated. So I felt this way in my family, where over time my uncles would expect me to just be everywhere. Like, it was just like, oh, we know Gianna coming. You know Gianna coming. Yeah, Gianna gonna be there. It's like, once I come, it's like, all right, hello, and not that I'm expecting balloons to be released from the back door, but expecting me to come somewhere, but once I just not really acknowledging my presence, or showing that familial kind of love where we're embracing one another, loving on one another, having, like, I don't know, empowering conversations, or being affirmed while you're there, like stuff like that. Is just, when that doesn't happen, it just make you feel like, do you even want me here? Do y'all even want me here? Or just like I mentioned before, other cousins or family members being favored over you, where you're at a dinner table and everybody asking your cousin to the left, cousin to the right, being loved on. They like ask her questions about her life, her future relationship, but you, it's like everybody on mute. Why aren't y'all asking me about my life? You know, like I've literally sat in that space before where I'm at the table like, hey, cold hearted. Well, I'm literally like, I done got 17 degrees. I am still a good person. I done traveled the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have aspirations, and I could use wisdom from my cousins, from my aunties, from my uncles. But nobody is taking the time to be like, so Jay, like, what have you been working on? What do you need help with? No, not even me not understanding the reason behind it, or me not knowing the motive, or just me struggling even in a moment to not compare myself to the person to the left of me or the right of me, just leaves an open space for the rejection to fester, like, especially if it's not dealt with. And professional professional more than anything this year, the rejection was real. Hey, Nubia's world, thanks, boo. I love the love, that's why I like y'all. But professional. So being last year, I worked at a job where it's like, on one end they were saying stuff about, like, being promoted. I mean, I was about to say this thing for TikTok, but yeah, being promoted. We want you to be on the team and this, that, and the third. But while y'all saying that, on the right, y'all micromanaging me. Or every time I look up, y'all pulling me into the office to tell me what terrible job I'm doing. I'm being targeted. People are lying. You know what I'm saying? Being passed up. Well, I haven't experienced this, but others have experienced being passed up for promotion where you have been actually working hard. You have been putting that work in. You have been doing your best, showing up early, leaving the latest, affirming your boss, giving honest feedback, speaking up for your peers. And then your boss is like, yeah, so we gave it to Alice. And it's like, I done did all this partially because I like the job, but partially too because I wanted a promotion and I need more money. But they choose to move on or give it to the next person despite your efforts. Not being hired for a job. I mean, putting out 150 applications, thinking about how beautiful your resume looks. You done use AI, you done use your auntie who is a college professor, you done sent it to just all types of platforms to be improved, to be revised, just to, I don't know, just to be made better. And you get rejected left and right. I mean, you didn't apply to work at the plant. You applied to work at Starbucks, but you've also applied to work at a job in your field. You applied to work, go above and beyond and try to be a director, like all types of stuff, and you get rejected. Even in entrepreneurship, this is one I ain't even put in my notes, but gotta be honest here. I'm from Chicago. I done put out several kinds of videos. I done put out a whole bunch of things. And the lack of support is uncanny because Chicago is the type of city that waits on people to become popular before they start showing support. And so I don't know where everybody is from, but it's very common for the people in your city to not show you love when you've been talking about being an entrepreneur, you've been talking about growing your brand and doing A, B, C, and D, and everybody like, yes, do it, girl, because we know you will snap. We know you will be good. We know you will be successful. And then you check the stats on your store, you check the stats on your Shopify, you check the stats on your Etsy, and you at 7 viewers. Like, and I'm laughing because I've been in this position. Like, you just know, you know your profit is gonna be out of this world when you check your platforms and you look and your views ain't even passing 10. You was like, what happened? Can y'all see me? I'm sorry, it froze because the Wi-Fi came on. I didn't turn it on. Anyway, so but yeah, you just thinking in your brain, like, what happened to these 700 people who were acting like the moment I put myself on, everybody's gonna start celebrating me, making sure I reach my projected profit and that I'm gonna be set up, I'll be able to pay my car note. Like, you got all types of ideas and barely anybody's showing you any type of support. So that type of rejection, it hits hard because you already have a set of expectations. And then when you're met with people not embracing you in all your efforts, that can make you feel like, wow, that can make you feel down. I promise. Even if you are going through your healing journey and all of that, that hits hard. It really does. And then spiritual rejection, which has a lot to do with your mindset. So feeling as though God is silent or distant. That, I cannot tell you how many times I've had this hard conversation with my mother where I just said to myself, I feel like God don't like me. Or I feel like God looks at me as a joke. Because I'm studying, I'm obeying you by taking risks. Because you told me to leave this job and go do this. Do that, don't do this. Open this door, blah, 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 blah. Invest here, so there. But then you still struggling. You the broke friend now because you done stepped out on faith, but things aren't shaking up the way you thought it would. Yes, Casey, for real. We definitely had this same conversation where it's like you're following God, you being a good person. Even in your disappointment, you still showing up for other people. And it seemed like Jody over here is being the biggest butthole, but he's making all this money and taking part in all these opportunities and doors are constantly opening. And you feel like, dang God, like you told me to do this, but you're not meeting me halfway. You praying, you asking God questions, you like, God, please answer me through my dreams, answer me through a prophetic word. Let somebody come pray for me at this point so I can survive next week. And in your opinion, things are not the way things are looking in the natural, they're not working out for you. And you just like, God, you clearly have closed the door. Maybe I've reached my limit on prayers this week, and I gotta wait till next week to be reconsidered, or what. Like, you got all types of assumptions in your mind. And then also, I don't know if y'all ever heard of this term, church hurt. Let me know if y'all heard of church hurt. That was a really big topic. I would say 2022, 2023. I feel like I saw a lot of conversations on church hurt. But people just like sharing all of their testimonies. Every time somebody did them bogus at church, pastor was mean, usher started a rumor about you, the elder made a pass at you and you the one who got in trouble. Like, it's just all types of sad stories I've seen. But yeah, church hurt is just an example of rejection, where you came here because your soul needed a particular kind of community, but a bunch of broken people allowed their own agenda to get in the way of what God actually wanted to do in your life. And so now you're left wounded in a place that's meant to heal you, and you have to either choose to not go to church at all, stay home, like a lot of people have chosen to be like, I'm not stepping foot in another church, or you choose to allow God to lead you to another ministry. Either one is difficult, in my opinion. Just taking that risk to go somewhere else, because people, again, are finicky. They're not God. So they're going to be inconsistent. But still, it still hurts. And then feeling unworthy. That goes back to the self-criticism thing. Feeling unworthy of God's love. Like you're not enough for what God wants to do. Y'all know what's the term where you feel like you don't belong somewhere. I feel like y'all know what I'm talking about. Somebody help me out here. Where it's like you get an opportunity, you apply for a job, you get it, you get boosted to leadership level, and then you feel like, what am I doing here? Imposter syndrome. Boom, got it. Imposter syndrome, man. That type of rejection is another facet of self rejection, where you feel unworthy, you feel ill equipped for an opportunity. You done pray heaven down for God to allow you to have a job. You done pray heaven down to be in a particular community. Maybe you've been wanting to be around other professional women, professional men. And then God opens the door, sends you to a networking event, sends you to a place where people are entrepreneurs, or they're CEOs, CFOs, all kinds of O's. And you like, ugh, I don't have enough to offer. I don't belong here. I shouldn't be here. What am I doing here? You know, you got all types of questions for yourself. And it's like, why are you going into this negative self-talk when you asked to be here? But it's more about how you are perceiving other people, and then comparing yourself to the perception you have of other people in their favor, and allowing that to impact the way you speak to yourself and of yourself. Imposter syndrome is rough. Then we have the one that is, I think, is the hardest form of rejection to even catch and navigate through. Self-rejection. I alluded to this a few times. Negative perspective of self. Negative self-talk. False. Y'all know what false humility is? I still deal with this. And I low-key feel like I probably avoided bringing this up in therapy. I feel like I avoided this. Like, Yeah, false humility. You know you the bomb. You know you are Miss or Mr. Creative. You got all these ideas. You got all types of innovations, all types of things you can offer. I mean, you can snap. I get you. An example. So, like I was saying, you have so many great ideas. You didn't get a master's in media management. You get sent to an organization, and the CEO is like, "Oh yeah, we know Miss So and So is going to come and change the trajectory of our marketing department." And then he's like, "Oh, you have any ideas?" And you're like, "Well, I don't really know. I can tell you some later. I don't really want to like put myself on the spotlight or in the spotlight." What are you talking about? What do you mean you don't want to put yourself in the spotlight? It has nothing to do you being confident in your number one your history. So you went to school for this. You went to school to be able to work in this type of job, in this type of environment. You went through maybe an internship. You did A through Z to prepare for this moment right now. You get there, and now you act like you don't want to highlight that part of you that got you hired in the first place. Maybe you don't want others to feel like you are the top dog. You don't want people to think you feel like you're all that. Or you're scared that people are going to rob you of your creativity or rob you of your ideas. Or you feel like if I show that I'm good at this, then they're going to expect for me to keep being good at this and I could possibly mess up in the future. Like you have all types of reasonings for why you don't want to demonstrate that good part of you. In other words, dimming your light. And it's called false humility because you're forcing yourself to shrink when really you should be highlighting something that will make whatever you're doing or whatever people are expecting of you better. So it's not good. People think false humility is good or humbling yourself is good. Nobody asks you to humble yourself. If somebody asks you if you know something, if you can help in this and you know you can and you act like you can't for real, you're being deceptive and that's not good. So God, it's a scripture that I'm gonna provide at the maybe it's in the New Testament. I'm sure they talk about it in the Old Testament too, where it says, "Whatever you do, do it to the glory of God. Whatever you do, put your whole hand on it." That means that you need to put your all into your craft. Put your all into your responsibility. So don't go into a job and they ask you, "Oh, what do you think?" and be like, "Oh, I don't really know," and start wondering why all of a sudden they stopped asking you questions over time. Wow. Yeah, it's uncanny. But if God is opening a door or opening a space for you to be who you're meant to be, that's your responsibility. What other people got to say about it, what they think, or what may happen as a result of you being obedient, that's not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility. And another indication of self rejection is self doubt. You already know what that means. Just thinking you're unable. Like, no, I probably won't be able to do that. That negative self talk. So before I move on into the impact of rejection, does anybody have any questions? Just let me know. Let me know. Let me know. We good? Don't look at my chicken scratch, y'all. Okay, taking it all in. So, the impact of rejection. One, one is isolation. So, isolation is where some people would like withdraw themselves from social spaces, avoiding situations that may lead to further rejection. It's you just like, yeah, I'm gonna keep it up on my page, my YouTube page. So you can rewatch it if you need to. But yeah, isolation is just like forcing yourself to be alone. So there, on one end, separation, which is what God typically does or typically requires out of people. That is where you allow God to be in the space with you. Isolation is more so you just going to be by yourself because you want to avoid embarrassment, you want to avoid um what's the other word, humiliation, shame, further rejection. Just like I'm going to avoid, and so I'm gonna be by myself in order to do that. Bitterness, it's natural to feel angry or upset about, going through that type of experience. But some people become calloused, like hard hearted, viewing everybody, everything through the lens of rejection or through the pain of what they've experienced. And so, a perfect example of this is I have a family member who closes herself off from everybody. And then when people do come around, she's like very short with them, very like closed off. Like they try to show love, and it's like, I'm going to say things in the most aggressive or the most vile way to make you not want to be around me. I feel like that's really just for them to return to the isolation. But it's just a very hard-hearted kind of demeanor. Victimization. I talked about this, the victim mentality. Just feeling like anything that happens, like when you are bound by rejection, anything that happens around you, even if it ain't got nothing to do with you, you'll start to feel like some way you've been put in the middle of it. Like you find a way to make things, um, you find a way to be affected by things. You look for reasons to be upset. Isn't that crazy? Like, can you imagine with me? Just let's just use our imagination. So let's say something happens that's pretty small, easy fix. If you are bound by rejection, typically you will find a way to make the impact of what happened much bigger than it actually is. You're just like, I can't believe she let this happen to me. She did this. She is this type of person. People always do that to me. But I mean, you going in. Again, another soliloquy, another monologue about how the world is out to get you because of this small thing that happened. Self-protection is definitely idolatry because you feel like, and it's not the same as boundaries. Self-protection is not the same as boundaries. Putting boundaries up do protect. Boundaries are protective in nature. They protect your mental health. They protect what you're building. They protect just like all types of stuff about you. But self-protection is like aggressive, where it's like you putting up a wall around you because you don't believe that, if you're a Christian, you don't believe that God is covering you. You don't believe that God is protecting you, that God is shielding you. You feel like you got to be aggressive with the wall you're putting around yourself, because you the only one who got your back and you the only one who keep you out of harm's way. So yes, that is idolatry. You feel like you got more power in that area than God does. Loss of hope. So whether the rejection is minimal or abundant, the feeling of not receiving what you desire can cause feelings of hopelessness. So just the expectation of not being accepted in the future or not getting what you want, not getting what you work for. If you feel like you always go through rejection, that'll keep you from going after what you desire. You start to think that it's pointless to even want. I said this to myself, like when things didn't work out for me, I said to myself, "Oh my God, I feel like it puts me in danger to want anything." I feel like when I want something and I work towards something, or if I even have the expectation that something is going to happen for me, the door closes. And so that means that I should stop desiring because I'm not going to get what I want. It's like your whole reasoning, your logic starts to mirror what rejection says. Rejection tells you Nobody is going to accept you. You're not going to get what you want. It just goes against everything that God says about you. And so your logic reflects that. Overcompensation is that part of you that wants to overwork to get what you want. You start to overdo your part. That's been my favorite line in this season is I'm not overdoing my part for nobody. But literally, overdoing your part to avoid rejection or just to get some type of crumb from either the opportunity you want or the person you want. Just I'm going to overwork, and then hopefully eventually you'll see that I'm worthy of what I want and who I want. That's different from being persistent and like being dedicated to your work, doing what you're supposed to do, putting your all into your work, like within the capacity that God gave you. Versus, I'm about to step outside of myself and you're going to see me everywhere until you accept me. That's damaging. Any questions? Alrighty. So, one of my favorite, I have two biblical examples of rejection. We all know one major example of rejection. Cold-hearted. What's can you expound on that? So what do you do when you're in the middle? Expound on that for me. I would like to answer your question. And yes, Lanisha, Ma, boundaries allow me to love and prioritize myself while doing the same for you. Exactly. It's in respect of me and it's in respect of you. Self-protection is you won't get me. You're not going to get me. I mean, literally, that's what it is. You're always in, you're always on the, what do they call it? Offense or defense, both. Which takes a lot of energy if you ask me. Like, you don't have peace if you're always thinking about how can you protect yourself. Okay, so yeah, 3 examples because I also want to mention Jesus. So Jesus is a major example of rejection. First of all, okay, knowing that now that self-protection is and wanting to move forward, I'm not scared, I'm not moving forward. Um, yeah, Jesus is an example of being rejected in the womb. So his mother, Mary, needed to find rest somewhere. She went to place to place to place, trying to find a place to be able to safely deliver her child. There was no room, nowhere for this to take place. No, I agree. Listen. I told somebody that Zoom is going to be where we go next, which is why I'm going to announce what I'm going to announce at the end. So hopefully you stay. We got we have a Q&A at the end. I'm gonna talk about my book and all of that. But so we have, yeah, I'm gonna get to that. But yeah, so Mary was looking for a place to be able to like birth her child safely and couldn't find that place. Then boom, she was able to deliver him in the midst of, I mean, literal barn animals, like outside. And he came into this earth to bring us salvation, about self-protection. But now I'm tired of being still. I'm not moving on what I have to do to get moving on in life. Okay, you know what? When I talk about the redirecting rejection, I feel like I'm gonna touch on what you're asking about. So yeah, so Jesus came to save us, right? But this man who literally came to save us, came to heal, came to deliver. I mean, there are countless stories about him ministering to those in need. And people hated him. Jews hated him. Philistines hated him. Like, Gentiles hated him. I mean, he's hated all over the place to the literal point that his own disciple betrayed him, leading him to the cross. Now, ultimately, he was going to get to the cross anyway because that was part of God's will. So, Judas played a part in God's will being manifested. However, I am quite sure that if Judas wasn't whack, God's will would have manifested just fine. But yeah, he was betrayed, like, by those who he led, those who he taught, those who he healed. And so that makes him like the literal image of what happens when you're rejected, but God is still expecting for you to live out the will he has for your life. But the rejection for him ultimately led him to the manifestation of what he was called to do. Another example would be Joseph, which is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. In Genesis 37 to 50, you see a young man, Joseph, amongst brothers who hated him, to the point where they tried to murder the man, sold him into slavery. God's favor was on him even then. Then his master, Potiphar's, his wife, lied on him, got him thrown into prison. There's still favor on him in prison. The people who he whose dreams he interpreted, one of them was supposed to speak out on his behalf, forgot about him, so he stayed in prison longer than he should have. And then he gets out, boom, into leadership because of what Pharaoh saw on him. But that's an example of rejection leading you into God's will or through God's will. Sometimes God will literally use disappointment to catapult you into the direction you're meant to go. So, thinking about this in terms of a job you thought you wanted, or a man you thought you wanted, a woman you thought you wanted, and you could see yourself living this amazing life if this door were to open. It's almost like you are picturing your happiness around whether or not this opportunity is going to take place for you. Then it doesn't. And the moment the rejection comes to pass, your mind just like you go into a whole time of mourning. I mean, you are crying, your hopes are gone, everything you picture for yourself has gone down the drain. You're just like, my life sucks. Like, you just, God, you did me bogus with that one. Like, God, you did me bogus with that one. But then, in the midst of your struggles, a different door opens. And then something happens in that produces something out of you that you needed. And then you become an even better person for another opportunity that opens up. And so now you're even further than you would have been had you gone with that other job. For me, there are 8,000 jobs I picture myself having in order to be happy, in order to be stable, in order to have everything I thought I needed. But through all those no's, and there were many, through all the disappointments I faced, like from friends that are no longer friends, arguments with family members, just like all types of stuff adding up, I was ultimately redirected to something I should have been doing. It's like the pressure of stuff not working out led me right to my knees, where I'm humbling myself before God, and I'm just like, I've tried everything, and it seems like all I've tried is not working. So what do you want? So sometimes disappointment will lead you to another level of submission, which always works out for you because obedience leads you to the things of God. It's crazy. The blessings of the Lord maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. So, um, yeah, there is protection in disappointment, protection in rejection, and if you stay with God in that, you're led to exactly what He desires out of you. I'll also say that in rejection, like when you're experiencing certain things that feel like rejection, that feel like hurt, pain, all of that, your heart being broken, like all types of pain, it can be very telling. Like it seems like your eyes like get opened in the midst of that type of pain. Just thinking about you not being loved on by your friends or by family or by this, by that. Like when you really take a step back from what's happening and you take a more objective standpoint, you start to really see things for what they are, and you really start to see people for who they are. As I've gone through this harsh season, and instead of, allowing myself to fall into the victim mentality, I decided to ask God for clarity. And God opened my eyes to a lot regarding the community of people around, not everybody, but a large sum of the community of people around me. And He allowed me to see the capacity that people did have and didn't have. And it showed me that in those harsh seasons, this was not the group of people I needed to be associated with. These are not the people I was supposed to be tied to. Which leads me to think about Job. Like, y'all know the story of Job. We love the story of Job, don't we? But do we like Job seasons? No, we don't. Because Job was blameless. Job was in the will of God. Job was obedient. And I talk about this with friends and family all the time. Feeling like you're doing A through Z to please God. And then you're getting prophetic words, you're getting reminders. I mean, dreams of bliss. God showing you that He's pleased with you. But then you turn around and you lose your car. You turn around and you lose your house. You turn around and your husband walks away from you, or your boyfriend or girlfriend cheats on you. You got people turning their backs on you. You get sick and you're like, what is happening to me? God, you said you were pleased with me and that I'm doing what you desire out of me. But in the same season, I'm losing so much. Job was attacked, okay, with sickness and infirmity. Job lost everything and everybody, but the people who were still there, his wife and three of his friends, instead of building Job up and even giving him wise counsel, whether it was just to tell him or advise him to pray, or helping him to see things in a different perspective, they're placing blame on him. Like, what could you have done to cause this? Maybe you made a mistake. His wife was like, why don't you just curse God and die, honey? Because she probably in her mind like it's better you than me, because if it was me, I would have cursed God alone. I mean, just like the dialogue in Job. If you read through Job, there's no type of conversation between him and his wife or him and his three friends that will lead, that would have, let's say he put a lot of power into their words. Nothing would have led him to prosperity or authentic healing, because none of what they were saying aligned with the type of friendship I read about in the Word of God, about your friends or your brothers sharpening you, or your community upholding you, helping you carry your burdens. None of the conversations reflected what friendship is meant to be, what godly friendship is meant to be, or godly relationship. And so, had he listened to any of them, he would probably be burning up in hell right now, cursing God and choosing to peace out because he doesn't understand why his season is so heavy. So, yeah, like I said, rejection, going through heartbreak, that kind of pain can expose what's happening around you if you take the position of spectator, if you step back and pull yourself out of the subjective standpoint of being in it, but taking on a more objective perspective of what am I seeing around me? What is happening around me in my community? And taking note of that. And either taking it back to God, praying, or just taking it at face value and choosing to walk away or separate for a season. But yeah, it's really it really does expose. um, but at the core of it, I believe that God challenges you to redirect what's happening, because it's not necessarily meant to happen to you. If you looking at Romans 8 and 28, it's supposed to be happening for you. Because if you really surrender to what you believe God is doing in the midst of that rejection, things end up working out for your good. All things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. So, like, what happened with this job? Let's say you get laid off, and then your friend turn on you. This don't work out. This don't work out. That don't work out. Like, doors are just closing. Things are crumbling. If you surrender to what you believe God is doing in that, if He's trying to mature you, if He's trying to increase your faith, even paying attention to what you might have prayed in that season. Because I recall praying that God would increase my faith. I recall praying that God will mature me and make me more assertive, make me more bold in the area of business and entrepreneurship. Then boom, He leads me to quit my job, and now I have to make things happen for myself. And now I have to choose the more mature route, and have healthy interactions with people, networking and like connecting with people who I probably wouldn't have connected to had I stayed at that other job I was at. Seeing myself in a better light because I was working somewhere that was below my capacity, but seeing that, oh, God places in me, let me pursue something higher and better than what I would have done before. But all of these different events, all of these things happening, God allows these things to be woven together to push you toward what you're meant to do. Because if you get comfortable in something that wasn't meant for you, and God challenges you to step out on faith and do something that's a part of your call, how sure are you that you would do so? How confident are you in yourself to step away from what is comfortable and go into what is uncomfortable? How confident are you in the level of faith you have in God to step out into uncharted territory, not having any kind of understanding of what can happen, not even being fully sure that something will happen, especially in the timing that you desire? Are you going to do it? And I feel like the only reason I even did it was because I thought it was going to happen fast. I was sure, like, okay, God, if I leave this job, silly and goodly, you going to open the door for me. Because you're not going to allow me to walk away from this and just be struggling with whatever. Nobody talks about the grief you'll experience of missing your past. Yes, I swear to you, Faith, first of all, nobody talks about the grief of transition. Nobody talks about what it feels like to be hanging in the middle of the season God is bringing you through, and how often you go into regret. Nobody talks about that, because you can literally be like, I am fighting for what God wants for me. I'm going to run for what He wants. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. I'm going to be obedient. But days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months. And sometimes months turn into years. And now you are 4 years away, or 3 or 2, however many years away from that comfortable life where you had the apartment of your dreams, you had the car of your dreams, you had fun friends, and you got money to spend on everything and everybody. But you have no clear idea of when things are gonna break through for you. Like, you don't know the exact time, day, moment, or second when things are gonna open up. All you know about is that happened for me, happened. I know about what happened last year. I know about what I walked away from. I have the clear understanding of what's in my past because I lived it. I know what's comfortable because I lived it. I I can identify with missing that because it was comfortable. I didn't have to do too much. It wasn't too much hard work. But I don't know when or where this thing is gonna break for me. And it scares me because I can be following God blindly, and there's a possibility his will for me could be something that I don't even want right now. Or it could be something totally outside of my expectations. And even having your expectations shattered, even if it's something bigger than what you're expecting or better than what you're expecting, it's still scary. People love to celebrate transit. I'm transitioning in this season, and they love to just celebrate and do a whole praise break about transition. But there are so many roller coasters you go through. You go through having strong faith. You go through being confident in God. You go through being confident in yourself. You go through having hope. And then you go through hopelessness. You go through regret. You go through remorse. You go through feeling like you're stupid. Like you had no reason to follow. Why am I following God? Is he going to meet me halfway? You just feel it can be tormenting, to say the least. It definitely can. And if you don't have, if you're not able to renew your mind daily, which is something I feel like I just adopted this year. If you don't renew your mind daily with the promises of God and the promises not only of what he's going to do for you, but him being consistent and being who he is and staying true to his word regarding your life, you will become a victim of the waves of transition, the winds of transition. The only thing that you can stand on really is the foundation you build with God. Because even in that, if you put yourself through applying for 70 jobs and trying to build all these other relationships to get back into a safe place, or to build a safety net, you might have to go through the whole process of transition all over again. Because the whole point is to trust and believe in what God said about you. And you do not want to make that process longer than it needs to be. So you have to renew your mind every single day. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Renew your mind every single day. I've gotten into the habit of playing the prophetic words I receive, encouraging words, all that, every single day. Like, I'm playing it in my ear every day. I'm talking to God every single day. Something has to come from my conversation with God that can give me a different mindset for my day. My pastor just declared yesterday, no more bad days. No more being a victim to your day. No more letting your day happen to you. Like, you have to place purpose on your day, every single day. Working toward what you believe God is doing. If he said that you're gonna start making $10,000 a month from your job, what are you doing to align with that? Are you still looking for jobs? Or are you actually writing out your vision and asking God to partner with you in that vision creating session of the day? Are you allowing God into your time of creativity? Are you allowing God to pour into you as you writing out your expectations for the year? Have you done a financial planning document? Have you created one? Have you created a budget? Do you even know what your business is supposed to look like? You're supposed to be an entrepreneur, but you don't even have an audience. Have you figured out how to build your audience? Reach your audience. There are a lot of things you could be doing to partner with God instead of trying to run away from what he wants for you. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing worse than knowing that something better could have happened to you, but you were afraid to pursue it because comfort feels better. But how much more of a big pill would that be to swallow, to find out that someone else is living exactly what you were supposed to be living? Not God replacing you, but somebody stepped up to the plate. Somebody stepped up to the plate, and now you have a clear vision of what you should have been doing. You chose to stay at the plant and God wanted to make you a whole CFO, or God wanted you to be someone who builds plants all over the world, but now you settle for being the assistant logistics tech instead of running with God to build and establish the whole process that is required for that. So yeah, that's why it is important to seek God or find God in the rejection. Shifting your view of what's happening in your life and seeing it as redirection. You being rerouted in your life. It's hard, but it's necessary. It's hard, but it's necessary. So there are spiritual and practical ways to navigate through that process, through that kind of season, going through the transition of experiencing rejection, but changing it into redirection, letting it work out for your good. So one way is, number one, even identifying that God is in the hard things. How many times have we said to ourselves, there's no way God can be in this because it's too hard. Ain't no way God to be behind this, honey, because this hurt. God wouldn't do nothing like this. I done said that. I'm like, nah. Surely you are not in this, honey, because you will not let something like this happen to one of your best warriors. But the thing is, one of my favorite scriptures, it wasn't always my favorite, but it's one of my favorites now. It was good that I was afflicted. It was good that I was afflicted, that I may learn your ways. Meaning, it was good that I went through what I went through because I was able to learn who you are, your identity, your ways. I know your instructions. I know your hand. I know your voice. Do you really allow yourself to hear God when you're living your best life? Like, for real. Like, if we being honest with ourselves, do you pray more when you're going through the hard times or when you're going through your best times? Now, seasoned people who have true relationship and history with God, they do keep a really good like connection going. Like they have good, consistent intimacy with God. But a lot of us, we wait until things get a little shaky. Then it's like, okay, I gotta make time for intercession. I gotta do my daily prayer. Let me pull my Bible out because otherwise, what I'm gonna do today, like, God becomes your safety net. Your word becomes your safety net. Prayer becomes your lifeline. And God wants prayer to be your lifeline every day, regardless of things, if things are high or if things are low for you. So, yes, it was good that I was afflicted. It was good that I went through a season of rejection and that you said no and that these people said no and that this door was closed because it led me to your word, it led me to your presence, and it kept me hidden in your presence until you are ready to release me again into what I'm meant to do. But I'm not going to leave your presence even when that happens. Another one of my favorite scriptures is, he gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. So Paul said that I can find joy in my weakness because your strength is made perfect in my weakness. That means that is the best way to allow God's power to be increased in you. When you can be honest and say, I'm weak right now, I'm hurting right now, I'm struggling right now, those are the best moments where you begin to feel the power of God increase on you and in you. You feel his healing power when you're broken. You feel his healing power when you're rejected, when you're feeling the pain, when you're in the thick of it. You can feel his power come over you. You know what it feels like to be redeemed and to recover for real, because you allow God's hand to be in the midst of your pain. Another one is, he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. One of the things that don't kill me, but it grinds my gears when people say, time heals all broken wound, time heals pain, all that stuff. You think really after 5 months, 10 years, whatever, that you just gonna be over what happened, and that if something happens again, it won't re-trigger what was there because you let time go past? How many people be like literally blowing up, losing their minds out of nowhere, and everybody like, what happened? That's an example of time not being able to heal the wounds. Like, God binds up your wounds and he heals. He heals the brokenhearted. He mends your broken heart. And he binds up the wounds, meaning there's the healing of the broken heart internally, but then there are the wounds, which means that there is evidence that you had a broken heart, that you had pain. But he binds up that as well. So that means you don't have to look like what you went through. When he pulls you through this season of transition and he catapults you into what you're meant to do and who you're meant to be with and who you're meant to be, there's no evidence of who you used to be and what you've gone through because he binds up those wounds. He heals the residue of the brokenheartedness. Ain't that crazy? And heal me, Lord, and I will be healed. Save me and I will be saved. For you are the one I praise. That means that you have to have faith that God can do what you need him to do. If you place that expectation on him and say, God, you said you're a healer, so I'm expecting you to heal me, and you believe it, it's going to happen. All you need is the faith the size of a mustard seed. Another necessary component of you navigating through this is community. Like I mentioned before, isolation is terrible. Terrible in these kinds of situations. In God-given community, whether it's community you've been praying for, or if you have people around you you already trust, if you have a church community, faith community, your childhood friends, people who have seen you at your worst and they haven't judged you, lean on them. Galatians 6:2 says, carry each other's burdens. And in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. Your community is supposed to carry your burdens. If you are surrounded by people who make you feel like you too much and that your pain is too much and they don't have no language for what you're experiencing right now, they don't have no language for how you can even navigate through it, not for your freedom or for your breakthrough, but for how to navigate through it. They don't have no language for it. That's not your community. Maybe y'all can still go get a drink or go get some chips, but that's not your community. That's not your covenant community. They're not, if they can't carry you when you're at your weakest, that's not your community. You need a community of people who have the capacity to help you carry what you're dealing with, to help you carry the heaviness of the season of transition. Whether it's 2 or if it's 3 people. But you need a good community, a good solid community of people who have the capacity to help you carry your burdens. Proverbs 17:17 says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. That means your community is supposed to be there for the hard things. If they're only there when you're your best self, when you make them laugh, when your qualities that make you just the life of the party are like evident, again, that's not the community you're looking for. You're looking for a community of people who don't lump your adversity into your identity. You don't become the struggle friend to them. You are the person who you're in a harsh season and you need help. And so they're going to help you navigate through the hard season without labeling you as somebody who's always burdened. You don't become a victim to them. You're just their friend or brother who's struggling right now, and you need their assistance, and they're willing to step up to the plate. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. If your community isn't making you better, your community is supposed to irritate you. Meaning, they might ask certain questions or give certain wisdom that triggers you in a way. Like, let's say you want to make a stupid decision. Let's say you want to react to this harsh season with negative or unhealthy coping mechanisms. Your community is supposed to be like, is that the best thing for you to do right now? Put that down. Don't call him. You're being mean right now, and you're projecting your anger and your frustration on to so and so, and that's not healthy for you or that person. What are you actually struggling with right now? Having the patience to ask you the right questions. Another great one is two are better than one, and pity the one who falls and has no one to help them up. Ecclesiastes 4:9-12. Who is there to help you up? Do you have a best friend who has the capacity to help you up? Do you have two brothers or two sisters who who see you when you're silent? Who realize when you're not doing your best even without you saying it? If you don't, you need God to send those people to you. You need God to send you the tribe of people who are going to see you when you're hiding, who are going to hear you when you're silent, and who are going to be able to see the who are going to be able to see who God created you to be, even when you're not at your best. Because really, your people supposed to be prophetic, and they're supposed to be able to see what you don't see in a moment. If you are struggling and your friend is saying, well, God is, he said he's going to blah, blah, blah. He said he's going to open his door before the season's up. He said this. He said, reminding you of what he said and seeing it for you. It's not your community. So keep in mind, your friend, your community is supposed to sharpen you, help you carry your burdens, offer you wise counsel. That's protection and wise counsel. And it's supposed to help to lift you up when you've fallen down. Another thing you need is self-compassion. You need to be patient with yourself, y'all. I know we don't like pain. I know we don't like grieving. We don't like experiencing hurt. And so we try to rush through our pain. We try to rush through the transition. We try to rush through the healing process. How many times have you cut yourself and then pick the scab? And then boom, the scab comes up and your wound is worse now. That is exactly what the healing process looks like. You have to let it heal. That means that you have to let yourself go through the harshness of it all. You have to feel all of it. Even if it looks ugly, even like, let's say you at the breakthrough, you at the door. The God is cracking the door open. But things are still ugly even as you're getting close to the door. You still can't rush to the door. Because there might be one more thing God wants to build in you. God wants to develop in you, heal in you before you're able to walk through that door. Doesn't mean the door is running away from you or is getting any further. He just wants to continue to increase you or make you better, improve you, elevate you internally. Because let's say he opens the door sooner than when you're ready, you're going to literally sabotage it because you're not who you're meant to be in order to carry what he has for you. So let him heal you for real so you don't ruin what he wants to do for you. That is literally something that we all go through. We feel like we know ourselves better than God do. God, I feel like I'm ready, so I must be ready. God knew you before you formed in your mother's womb. So that means he knows thoughts that you haven't even thought yet. Which means he knows that you are bound to make a particular mistake before you even make it. So perhaps he's keeping you from that open door for your own safety. It could be a generation of people who will need you. But if you're not quite ready in a particular area, not only can you ruin things for you, but you can ruin things for them. And ain't nothing like having blood on your hands. So feel the process as he's pushing you through it. And ask him questions along the way. Show me what kind of season I'm in, God. and show me how I can prepare for the open door because I feel that it's near. Show me how to prepare. The dialogue has to be there. Just saying, oh, I make good decisions, I obey God. Does that mean that you have relationship with him and that you talk to him? Or are you doing what you think he wants you to do? So these are all questions I had to ask myself. Am I obeying him and staying in the thick of this process just because I want what he's promising me? Or just because I feel like or am I assuming that I already know what he wants or whatever? Or am I doing this because I actually want to be better? I want a better relationship with him. I want to hear him better. And I want to be better equipped for what might come with the open door. Because once you go through the door, things get a bit more challenging. So he's preparing you not only to carry the responsibility of the open door, but to be able to face what's on the other side of it. Because your challenges before you even get there are only one half of this process. There are challenges after you open the door as well. And you don't want to ruin that either. So let's be grateful for the harshness of the transition, because maybe he's turning up the fire so that you can be even better than what you're receiving. Because what you're receiving could just be half of the promise. You know? So let him increase you. Let him make you better. Let him prune you. Let him process you. It's for your good. So yeah, you need faith. You need to be able to see God in the hurt, in the pain, in the rejection. You need community. You cannot be a lone ranger in this process. And you need self-compassion. You have to be patient with yourself. You cannot condemn yourself. You cannot speak down upon yourself. The Lord will rescue his servants. No one who takes refuge in him will be condemned. Meaning you need to be in him to escape condemnation. It's very human to place blame upon yourself when you're rejected, when you experience rejection. Which means that you need to be in God to be able to redirect that rejection. And to not label yourself or be hard on yourself because something didn't work out. Faith, community, self-compassion. Any questions? Let me know. Let me know. Or anything you need me to expound on. Thank you, Casey. Like I said before, like, these are all things that I've had to learn myself and go through myself. Because silly and goodly, honey, much trial and error. Goodness. Ooh. Okay. So, we've reached the end of the presentation. But I just wanted to direct your attention to something amazing. So, I created this. It's called Healing Through Rejection. Healing through rejection. There is something powerful about being able to allow a hard season to work for your good. Like, and there was a reason why I chose healing through rejection instead of healing from it. Because it's the idea that once you get away from rejection, then you're just free from it and it doesn't happen again. But healing through rejection, it insinuates that rejection is all around you. It's inevitable. You're gonna always experience rejection. Like somebody saying no to you, a door being closed, something not working out for you. It's always gonna happen. So are you gonna try to run from it? Because that means you will be running away from life. But are you gonna try to run from it, or are you going to navigate through it and allow it to work for your good? Are you gonna be strengthened through it? Are you gonna become better? Are you gonna get closer to God through it? Like healing through it. That's the whole point. So yes, healing through rejection. It's a workbook. So I do talk about, a little bit of my experience, but I also provide like activities, guided journaling, reflections, just an opportunity to interact with the book, not just to read it, but to like work. I love therapeutic work. I really do. Like, but it is available on Amazon, Kindle. There's an ebook version, and then there's the paper version. So if you're a person who needs it in your hand, it's available. If you're someone who wants to scroll on your phone and read it, it's available. But take some time, look through it. Healing Through Rejection, by me, Jay Dene, Jaydenee. If that's what you desire to do, please pick it up. Also, something that I've been working on and will be available before the end of the year is a mentorship group. So if you're someone who desires like guidance in healing, while also having a community of other women who can identify, what you're struggling with, it resonates with them, and there's no judgment, and y'all could just like partner with one another with my guidance as well. Like if you're looking for that, if you want one-on-one coaching sessions and just like someone to just help pull you, or not pull you, but guide you through a healing process, I am offering a mentorship, and I'm going to put more information about it on all my social, Instagram and YouTube. But yes, it'll be bi-weekly Zoom sessions and bi-weekly one-on-one sessions. You get a healing kit with prayer cards, with scripture cards, a scripture bookmark, a workbook, a journal, and a pen. And yeah, you just get a lifelong community. But it will be a mere fee of $20 a month. But you get any number of sessions, no, not any number, but like bi-weekly one-on-one sessions and bi-weekly Zoom sessions with a group of other people, for master classes. Sometimes I'll teach, sometimes other people will teach. But yeah, you just get a lifelong community of healing. So if you're interested in that, I'll be putting it out. I'll put out a link to sign up for it, and we'll go from there. So yeah, look out for that, y'all. Details will be coming soon. Thank you so much, y'all, for joining. This was fun. Like, I will definitely do this again. And I'm also going to be doing more workshops in person for those who are in Chicago or want to travel there. And then Zoom, will be making use of Zoom as well, because I would love a closer, like more intimate community, which will keep us out of reach for the clowns that like to come and stoop stuff. So yeah, I love y'all, man. Follow me on Instagram, JDene1, and look out for details. Until next time, bye y'all. Love y'all. I love y'all. Love y'all so bad. So bad. Thank you, Casey. Love you too, boo. Cold hearted. I hope I answered questions well. I hope I explained well. Of course. Yeah. I like this feels so good. Like talking to, in this space by myself, talking to y'all. You're welcome. God bless you as well. Make sure y'all have a good weekend. I mean, it's Saturday, but enjoy the rest of your day. Like, what? Thank you, Mom. Hearts to you. I'm so proud of myself. Oh. You know how y'all sit a certain way for a long time and you just like lose feeling in your toes? I'm fighting for my life. Oh, I don't know what these mean. Oh, okay. Stay connected, y'all. Let's stay connected. Okay, for real. I'm gonna go. Bye.